joining us right here in all of his George Hamilton NFL media tan splendor from Sports Illustrated.
I need like a grade on this. Like, what would you say?
Right now, Albert Breer, I think you are
pretty good.
I mean, on a scale of
B+,
no, please, on a scale of 1 to raging, I think you're right there, man. You're like raging minus.
We just had the conversation about that picture that you and I took. I think it was a selfie. We were watching the World Cup.
I'm trying to find
in 18 at the gazebo in Nantucket.
Yep.
And it was, I remember it was
2018.
relatively empty in there. And that picture, like I was wearing like an orange Lacoste shirt.
Yep.
And it really, that was like the A. Like, I don't think I'm an A right now.
Well, I mean, technically, as you're in your mid 40s now, you don't want to match an orange shirt, Albert. You know,
that's true for a lot of different reasons.
The letters for you aren't just SI; they should be SPF, okay, or MMQB and SPF. But anyway, good to see you.
Great to see you.
Where are we on your tour? How many spots have you been to?
Today I'll be with the Chargers. That'll be 15. I'll go visit.
15.
Go visit your old buddy Jim.
Awesome. Across the way.
Yeah, so I'll be there.
You just hang a right and a left, and you're there.
I know,
it's kind of crazy
and they have a later practice today, so I'll be out.
Cool.
I'll be out of town late. I'm on a later flight to Phoenix, but yeah, they practice from 5 to 7, I believe, tonight.
Okay, that's
so
cool. Excellent.
Yeah, and they've got a really nice facility over here. But I did the entire Midwest, so I did that whole swing, which I do, as you know, a bunch of that by car, and then came out here, and I'll be at 17 when I finally get home to my kids on Thursday night.
So do more than half the league. Who else have you seen here in Southern California?
I've seen all of them now. So I was with the Rams and Cowboys the last 2 days.
So let's get started. And I'm not going to start with the Cowboys just because that's what I've been doing pretty much every day. What's up with Matthew Stafford's back?
So, like, my perception on it, like, so he's had scary injuries the last few years. And they're the types of injuries when a player gets older, when a quarterback gets older,
Yes.
you get concerned. Elbow, wrist, and now back. And so he's 37.
Didn't he have a neck too? At
Yeah,
one point too?
like, so there's like, I think it's just the accumulation of damage over the course of his career. He played on some, I mean, I think he would concede some rough Lions teams.
Yes, sir.
And took the damage for a lot of that. And so, yeah, I think for them, it's a realization, you know, at his age, you only have so many bullets left in the gun. And do you really want to be firing them now? I think the other thing that gives them a nice advantage here is the presence of Jimmy Garoppolo, who they really like. They think Jimmy is a starting level quarterback. In fact, like if they had traded Stafford in February or March, which was a possibility, they would have gone to Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers had said no, Jimmy would have been the next choice. So they view Jimmy as like a viable starting option. The reason that's relevant now is because they can go out and have competent practices where their veterans get good work with Jimmy in there and with Matthew saving the bullets in his gun. And basically you're saying here, we would rather you get the rest now than have to do maintenance work on you in November and December because you're worn out. And so I think really the idea is we're not going to put him back out there till he's 100%. And when he's 100%, we'll roll with him. But for right now, they think they've got a really, really good team. And they want the full Matthew Stafford and not just for week 1, but a Matthew Stafford who's ready to sustain through February.
Okay, so, you know, I understand maintenance and precaution. I get that.
Yeah.
But we can't sit here and say, you know, when the Stafford stuff was going down as the first stone in the free agency pond, right? Tossed in there, and the ripple effects, and you know, and who was kicking tires on him? Giants, Steelers. We all know that there was a lot of teams interested in him, and then the Rams kept him. That you couldn't sit here and say the plan for him in late July and August was for him to be week to week with a back that has him see a specialist over the weekend so Jimmy Garoppolo could get time. Like that definitely wasn't the plan, though.
No, it wasn't. No.
So that's what I'm trying to find. Where do we land on the level of concern? You're saying that there's not much concern.
I would say what I would say is it's at the normal level of concern with a 37-year-old who has a back issue.
Okay.
Like, it's not something that, like, where I think it's an alarm bell situation where, like, wow, if he gets out of bed the wrong way, his season might be over. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a normal, he's an older player. When these things pop up, you have to deal with them, and you have to deal with them aggressively, and that's what they're doing. Okay.
So, in the meantime, Kyren Williams just got got a new deal.
Yeah, 33 over 3.
That's a nice pop. Is this possibly something that could help the Bills with James Cook?
I would think so. I mean, there was a point earlier in the offseason where they were pretty far apart. The Bills and Cook were,
right.
and there was a lot of ground to make up. And I think it didn't get. I hesitate to say personal, but I don't think it was in a great place in the spring. And there were some talks over the course of the months to follow that I think got them a little bit closer. I think this will help. I think one of the things with Cook that was really important for them is he's been such a good soldier in Sean McDermott's program. Mm-hmm. And so how is he going to show up? And he's been a leader during training camp. He's been everything they wanted as a player. He's been fully engaged in everything. And so the sense the Bills are getting, at least, is this is a guy who, again, looks like he wants to be here long term and is motivated to be here long term. Now, that said, it's tricky at that position, because if this guy goes out there and gets hurt, it could kill his value altogether. We've seen it happen with other players that take that risk and play into a contract year. Even like Saquon. Like Saquon got hurt a lot when he was younger, which is why he didn't get paid until he got a little bit older. And so it's a tricky thing. And I think, for James Cook, what you do is you push every button from a leverage standpoint and in the negotiation to try to get the best deal you can. And then when you get close to the season, when the real deadlines come, you do a deal.
Although you could make the case Kyren Williams is on the field a heck of a lot more than James Cook. I mean, that's a three-down back right here in Los Angeles. They're different. And so, him being paid 11 per, I guess, on average. We're talking about like
Josh Jacobs versus Alvin Kamara, sort of, like where Kyren Williams would be more the Josh Jacobs type of back. Not saying he's the same level, but that type of back where James Cook, in the Joe Brady offense, which is the old Saints offense, is the Alvin Kamara. So, Cook brings different type of value because of what he can do for you in the passing game.
All right. Now, I think I've held off long enough. What is going on in Oxnard with Micah Parsons? What do you got for me?
This is the first one where I didn't want to believe that this is for show, right? Like I didn't want to believe that this is about being on in the A block on First Take, but I'm starting to think like that there is an element of that here where you either take a team-friendly deal at the beginning of the offseason, or we're not taking a dollar out of our pocket until we need to, and we're going to have the benefit of it being a story for the entire breadth of training camp. And the reason I say that is because I go back at the last few, and I did some digging over the weekend on Zach Martin's situation 2 years ago, and then CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott last year. And what I found was that the pace of negotiations was not much different. Once the Cowboys got out here for training camp, there was not a lot in the way of talks between the sides in those previous three situations. So in a lot of ways, I think what's happening here, including the piece of Jerry going directly to the player, lines up with the Cowboys' normal MO. It's just now you have a player who's willing to put all the laundry out there, So I think this gets done the week before the season. And I think it's probably $45 million per year. And I think everybody walks away from this happy. Now, I think the question becomes, does it affect his season? And we saw what happened with CD last year, which how long did it take before he pulled a hamstring? It was like a couple weeks in, right? Like, so that's, I think the question is like, are you putting at risk his season by not putting him out there? Now, the good news is he is there, so, and from what I understand, he's taking part in the walkthroughs, fully engaged in the meetings. They've got a young defensive end they really like in Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College, who Mike has really taken under his wing. So everything the coaches have asked of him, he's done this summer. It's just, obviously, there's the business to take care of.
So I guess you want to put any more meat on the bones as to what made you feel that this is performative, so we can all be talking about it and get the Dallas Cowboys buzz up. I mean, what was it?
It's on Netflix in 2 weeks.
Okay, I got it. Right. I understand that, but that's buzzy enough. Like, you don't need to be playing a game of chicken and pissing off your player to make him put all the laundry out there. Was the laundry accurate? Do you think?
I think it was accurate.
From Micah's point of view,
I think Micah was being honest. Like, and I don't think. And look, like, I think he's got a really competent agent too, and David Mulugeta, who, like, I don't think is going to put himself on center stage, but he's the most powerful agent in the NFL. And
is that why Jerry doesn't want to talk?
And I think when you have that piece of it, like where Jerry said the stuff he said, David's not going to come out and David's not going to come out and blow Jerry up publicly for it, but he's going to file it away, And so, like, I think this thing is in a really weird spot from that perspective, but I also think there's a deal to be done here, and the market's very well defined. Like, you can't claim, if you're the Cowboys, that Myles Garrett's an outlier because TJ Watt got done. And I think Trey Hendrickson's not going to be too far off from where those two land if he gets done. So, Aiden Hutchinson, if that somehow winds up getting done over the next few weeks, what does that do to the whole thing? So,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that could just, and that's the whole point of this is you want to talk about how does it affect wins and losses. I know you just mentioned, Albert, about, soft tissue injuries that happen, more often than not when somebody's not working out during training camp, right? Also, when you're like 1-2, 2-4, 3-5, does this sort of bad blood manifest itself by coming back out again? Because if Jerry says something on his local radio hit that might rankle Micah, who then says something, and then it's now Brian Schottenheimer having to put something out in the locker room, and he's a new coach and might not again. But the one thing that I come back to is the waiting to sign somebody, right? That the waiting to sign somebody gets more expensive, we all know. And does that remove the Cowboys' ability to add depth to a roster? Like, is there a real connecting of a dot that there could be a thinning of a roster because you're not having that extra millions of dollars to go to this player, that player that could also play special teams and make you a deeper team? Is there something to that?
I mean, if you want, let's look at the cumulative cost of it, right? So let's say Micah gets done at 45, okay? So now you're talking about 45 for Micah, 34 for
That's
CD.
5 north of Myles Garrett, man.
And then 60 for Dak.
Yes.
So that's 3 players taking up, I believe, like my fuzzy Ohio State math, 100.
Nice.
I think it's 140 million per year. Now there's obviously existing years and the numbers are spread out, but that's money. That's real money that you're going to have to account for, which is, I mean, over half the salary cap for this year if you just count that number. So, like, that's the cost of it, is that, like, when you keep doing this over and over again, you do it once, like, all right, like, well, then we'll do these other guys early. You keep doing it over and over again, then I think you wind up in that situation where those things can start to happen and it can thin out your roster. I mean, ask the Niners about it now. Like, the Niners had to go through a cap reset because they went all in a few times in a row, right? I mean, the Niners might start like 5 or 6 rookies on defense as a result of it. So eventually it does catch up with you.
Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Speaking of fuzzy Ohio State math, what is Terry McLaurin asking for that best you can tell that might be holding this up? Or is it the Commanders not wanting to meet potentially a demand to put him in the mix with DK and Ayuk and that in that range? What's going on here?
It's the guarantee structure is the main thing, and I think that it's
well, then that'll get hammered out, right?
I think so. I mean, the command. I don't think Terry wants to. My discussions with Terry over the last couple of years, I know how much pride he takes in what they were able to accomplish there.
Heck yeah.
In large part because of what he got through to get there, what he had to go and going through the ownership change and the name,
sweat equity, man,
all the stuff. Like, I mean, I know he took a ton of pride in the fact that, like, I'm the one who stuck it out. I was here since 2019. I saw it from Jay Gruden to Ron Rivera to Dan Quinn. I saw the ownership change. I was the one who, I was sort of the bellwether through the storm. And so, like, I think he's motivated to stay there. I think he wants to stay there. I think the Commanders, if you ask Dan Quinn will tell you, hell yeah, like, that's the guy I want on my team.
Of course.
They've also become more data-driven under new ownership, which I think is part of the equation here, where it's like, okay, like, so like this is this age of receiver. This is what happens with this type of receiver. Can we? And there's like that sort of stuff that I think seeps in. Now, I would argue.
By the way, where do the Derrick Henrys land on that scale?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, there are outliers. There are
Derrick
people.
Henry is on a cheap deal.
No, but I'm just pointing out, like, what I'm assuming you're driving at here is, well, he turns 30. in middle of September.
Yeah.
And so if we sign him to a deal where he's making DK
we're
Metcalf
going to regret
money,
this in 2027.
Who the hell cares? You got Jaden Daniels right now who needs him, and you need Jaden Daniels to keep going this way. And I don't care how many McCaffreys they can say is coming on strong, like apparently Luke is there, but. I mean, what are we talking about? This is Terry McLaurin. We saw what he did last year.
Yeah, and here's the other thing that I point out on that. Like I like the type of receiver he is. Like we all saw Larry Fitzgerald reinvent himself, right? Larry Fitzgerald played to what, 36, 37?
Yeah, he didn't want to go in the slot at all.
Right, like, and he reinvented himself as a football player.
Yes.
You look at Terry McLaurin, is he overly reliant on his physical ability? No. Like he's a great athlete, but he's not he's a craftsman. He's not the type of receiver who, when he loses a step, he's going to fall off a cliff. So even if he is 90% of what he is now in 2 years, because of the person he is, because of the leader he is, I have a hard time seeing a scenario where if the Commanders sign him to the DK Metcalf deal, which is the comp here that his side has tried to use, I have a really hard time seeing where the Commanders are going to regret doing it. You know what I mean? Like that's the way I've started to look at some of these deals for older players. It's like, okay, are the Steelers going to regret in 2 years that they paid TJ Watt? Probably not.
Does it matter? But does it matter if you've got Aaron Rodgers? You're putting all your eggs in a 41, soon to be 42-year-old quarterback basket. You've got to do it now. What TJ Watt means to the franchise in the city, you have to and kudos to the Steelers for not dragging it out, making them hold in, making Rodgers and Cam Hayward and Mike Tomlin answer questions about why isn't Watt signed. Yeah. You don't do it. Just go ahead and make the deal.
And on Terry, I think there is.
I guess it's easy for me to say,
and I think there's that element with Terry. And I think Josh Harris and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have done a phenomenal job.
They know what they're doing.
Right, I mean, like there's no question. But I think on Terry's side, there's a little bit of like what the hell else do I have to do?
Yeah, right.
Like I'm not asking for Justin Jefferson's deal. What else do I have to do? And I think it gets done. I think cooler heads will wind up prevailing. But you can see his frustration in the way that it's interesting if you really look at it. First, it was a holdout. Then it was a hold in.
Yes.
Now it's a trade request. So you can see where he's like, I just want to get back out there. What do we need to do? What lever do I need to pull to get this done?
I wish I knew for his sake, because just real quick, best Ohio State receiver since Chris Carter?
The best one? Michael Thomas was pretty good.
Okay.
Right. Michael Thomas, I think he had the catches record, right?
But doesn't McLaurin have more longevity than him right now?
Since Chris Carter, I mean,
who
might be the best one in like short sample size was Terry Glenn. Terry Glenn was phenomenal.
Terry Glenn was good.
Was really good.
Yeah, Terry Glenn, like to me,
was trying to name it.
But he just didn't have the longevity because he had all the injuries.
And I know they're different ages. Isn't it kind of crazy? Garrett Wilson's contract might be messing with the McLaurin conversation.
Yeah, I know it is.
But they're different ages. I understand.
They're different ages and everything else. I think DK Metcalf's the comp because DK is 2 years younger because McLaurin was a 5-year college guy, Metcalf was a 3-year college guy. But like to me, I look at the two receivers. I'm like, I actually think Terry might age better too, just because of the type of receiver he is than DK, because DK is reliant on his physical ability.
Well, DK's next quarterback might be next year, and Terry McLaurin stays put. He's attached to the hip of some kid that's on a launching pad and going nowhere.
Right.
I just don't even know. Can Terry McLaurin say at some point, like you pay people for past performances? How about the fact I said nothing with Dan Snyder? I don't know if that means anything with the current ownership structure, but I mean that's got to count for something. Last time, Albert Breer, you were on this program. You were with the Cleveland Browns way back when they only had 4 quarterbacks. Why are we adding
now
6?
5 and 6?
What's happening? What's going on?
Well, the guys are hurt. Like so, like they.
Pickett's, but I thought Pickett's back and
Pickett's back, but he dealt with the hamstring. Shador was nicked up. I think Dillon was dealing with something. So
right.
I mean, Snoop Huntley's there, I think, is just an arm for right now.
Okay, and the 40-year-old Flacco, he's the guy, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think like they're in a weird transition spot where I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were really honest with themselves about where they are. And that maybe that window of the group that they made the playoffs with twice over the last 5 years is up. And I think that sort of informs the trade of the second overall pick, where they felt like we need to get younger and we need volume of young players. It can't, like Travis Hunter's great, and they would have taken him if they had sat there too, but we really just need volume. And part of it was the loss of the draft picks in the Deshaun Watson trade. And so they've got like these older players and Myles Garrett and Joel Bitonio and Denzel Ward. But on the other end, they're trying to get younger. They're trying to balance their roster out. And I think that's sort of why they're kind of in that weird spot at quarterback where it's like, we'll make it work this year. I think the one thing that people don't pay attention to, because I know there's been a lot of noise in Cleveland about playing the rookies and why would you even bother with the older guys, is for a team in transition, you have to give, and you know this, Rich, you have to give the locker room the best chance. Like there are 10 other guys in that huddle trying to make a living that have careers where you can't just turn it into an experiment with rookies out there. So I think Joe probably gives them the best answer. I think the two veterans are still ahead of the two rookies.
Is Shedeur making the team? Is he in
I think he'll
danger
make
here?
the team. I think he'll make the team, but when he got there, he was way behind. And he's made up some ground. But I think part of it, like his ability to operate the offense, is part of what he needs. He needs to take that to a higher level to get first team reps. Because if you're a football team looking, and this is the simplest thing in the world, if you're a football team looking to get ready for the season, and you got veteran players again like your Joel Bitonios or your Jerry Jeudy's in that huddle that are trying to prepare for a season, you can't fiddle around with a young quarterback who can't operate the offense yet.
What are you saying? Like calling the plays in the huddle?
Yeah,
and
stuff like that. Like the
right?
operational stuff is the stuff he was behind on that he had to catch up on.
Right.
And so like, and look, like by all accounts, he's worked really hard at that, but there was a lot of ground for him to make up, you know. And Dylan Gabriel, because he started at 3 different colleges, was in college for 6 years at Oregon and UCF and Oklahoma, was just way ahead of him when they came in, which is why Gabriel's gotten the first team reps and Shedeur hasn't.
Okay, let's move on to some other stops for you. The number of times, guys, and you can back me up on this, that we have asked folks from our business about the team that other people are talking about and the team that is ready to take a big leap. The Denver Broncos are the team that we hear.
Every single person says the Broncos.
I mean, it's been remarkable.
I was going to say that.
And we don't even bring it up.
It popped in my head.
Every single person.
You were about to say that too, right? Why?
They the number 1 defense in the league last year. They add Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga from the Niners. 2 of the Niners did not want to lose those guys. The reality is the salary cap are the reason they lost those guys.
Right.
And then I think Bo Nix is a lot better than people think. And I had people can read it. I had a unbelievable conversation with Sean Payton on Saturday about identifying quarterbacks and what he thinks people do wrong. And, you know, I remember talking to the Broncos a year ago, and this is not with the benefit of having seen how the season played out.
Right.
I was told last summer the Broncos' top 2 quarterbacks in last year's quarterback class were Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. That's, again, without the benefit of knowing how the season's going to play out. And so I had a good conversation with Sean about IDing quarterbacks. And he gave me all these different numbers that they look at that are a little bit different. And then he said, and the biggest stat we look at was sacks. Sacks is a quarterback stat. And he said, like, when you see a high sack number, what do? You blame the line. It's like, it's not the line's fault. It's like, in most cases, it's not. It's the quarterback's fault. And, you know, he dove into like how Bo Nix had historically low sack numbers. Jaden Daniels had very low sack numbers at LSU. He's like, it informs you on his ability to process, his ability to see the field, his instincts, his ability to move and then get the ball out on time. It tests all of those at once. And he had one of his analytics guys, go back and do a study over the last 30 years, right? Said, can you find a college quarterback who was sacked a lot, who then went to the pros and wasn't sacked very much in the pros? And they couldn't find one. So, like, there's just this stuff with Bo where Sean thinks everybody missed the boat on him. And I think they think, and this is me talking, I think they think he's got a chance to be a top 5 quarterback. And if you're injecting a top 5 quarterback, and let's just say, like, I know that I saw your face.
No,
right?
I meant this year. That was going to be
maybe
my follow-up.
this year, but like soon.
Okay, sure.
And like if he can be that guy, right? Like, because that's just from me hearing the way that people in that building are talking about him, not just Sean. If you add that to like a defense that's playing at that level, and I don't think we give Bo enough credit for how he played last year, because he did not have like Tyreek Hill when Patrick Mahomes was young, Steph Diggs when Josh Allen was young. He did not have like a superstar.
Terry McLaurin when Jaden Daniels was there last year.
We don't give, for one reason or another, I don't think we give him enough credit for how well he played last year, especially when you consider it was like a good, not great offense around him. So I just look at the combination of things there. The division is very difficult, and that's the X factor. And I think there's a chance that the top 3 teams in that division cannibalize each other, and maybe that costs you a home playoff game if you're Denver, and maybe that costs you in the long run. But I think they're going to be a very good team.
And it really is amazing that at this point last year we're wondering, about Bo Nix, and then after dead capping Russell Wilson like that, you're like, well, they're
cooked.
They're cooked because you also want to win playoff games or go to the playoffs or go on a Super Bowl run in the first iteration of a contract. And boy, that ship's going to sail with Bo Nix, because if you add what Russell was costing to this, then they're clearly going to be capped out. And instead, look at what George Payton's put together for Sean Payton, and Bo Nix is doing what he's doing, and they signed Cortland Sutton, and they draft very well. Right. You know what I mean? And it's beyond impressive, man. And Sean Payton thinks he flat out said we can win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, he's talking about it.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps mentioning them, which, obviously would scare me off. When everybody believes the same. It's so rare that it's true.
I mean,
or that it can come to fruition. Let's put it that way.
I would just say this. They're like, when you go around and like, you can sort of tell the way teams, like, you do this for long enough, you can kind of tell when like a team is very confident with where they're at. And I would say like the 2 teams that really stuck out in that regard for me over the last 2 weeks that like maybe people wouldn't expect as much of the Broncos and the Rams. Like, I think those 2 teams are very, very confident where they're at.
What a Super Bowl that would be, by the way.
Sean versus Sean.
Sean versus the Seans going at it. I mean, that would have been there in San Francisco. Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. When you think Seahawks and Raiders, you think what? Bo Jackson running over the bars and going up, back in the Kingdom.
It's a Monday night game, I think, right?
But we're now, these 2 are attached right now, obviously. Pete Carroll's now in Vegas with the Raiders. Geno Smith with him. Sam Darnold up in Seattle. You stopped in those 2 spots. Give me your impressions about your takeaways in those 2 places.
So Seattle is interesting because I do think that there's still some marks of the Pete Carroll era there, but it's really become Mike McDonald's team.
Right.
And I think, bringing in guys like Cooper Kupp and DeMarcus Lawrence from Dallas, and then obviously Sam Darnold, I think only further makes it his team. He's kind of bringing in his own leaders like that. And those guys haven't played for him, but those guys are not Pete Carroll guys.
In his image.
Right? Like, they're, yeah. So like, I think when I look at the Seahawks, I see a team. I had a couple conversations with people in Green Bay, and I think the Packers and Seahawks are in a similar spot where they've drafted really well the last couple of years.
Yes.
And they've got a bunch of good players. And the question now becomes, can those good players become great players? And so, in Green Bay, it's the young receivers, Wicks and Reed and, Matthew Golden, who they drafted in the first round. What happens at left tackle there? What happens with the 4 first-round picks on the defensive line, with Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness and Devontae Wyatt. And, obviously Kenny Clark's been a great pro for them. And Seattle, it's the same thing. Seattle, it's like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devin Witherspoon, Charles Cross, Kenneth Walker, Boye Mafe. Like, they've got a lot of really good young players, and now those guys are on the verge of getting paid. Can those guys become great players? Like, to me, I look at Seattle, I see like that's a 9-10 win team, but if those guys can elevate, could it become a little bit more? I think that's where Seattle is. And and then the Raiders.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Me too.
Because I think, I mean, first of all, we should all be moving around like Pete Carroll is when we're 73 years old.
He hates the number, though. He doesn't want to be.
He doesn't want to hear it.
He does not wish to be judged by this number. He does not want to be termed as the oldest guy in the league, at the position or the. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
And again, because he does relate to young folks in a way. It's not like he's playing golden oldies, in a locker room where everyone wants to listen to hip hop. He does relate. And just you would talk about a deep end of the pool, the AFC West. I mean, they are kind of like the hanging chad when everybody mentions the 3 teams that did make the playoffs last year.
I think they're going to be the team that's a pain in the ass to play at the end of the year. Like, I think if you're a contender, and I don't know how their schedule sets up, but if you're one of those teams in that division, like, and you're a coach, it's going to make you uncomfortable to see them. It's like, oh crap, Now, our guys, the record might not be great, but our guys could take their eye off the ball here, and the Raiders could pop us.
Yeah, they do. They do finish with the Chiefs, and they play the Chargers here in LA the last Sunday of November. Then the Broncos at home, the Eagles, Texans, and the Giants. Those are the last 6 opponents right there. So those are the ones that you think will be
a pain for them, pain to play against them. I think Ashton Genty is like, I'd put money on him to win Rookie of the Year. Like,
you would, huh?
I think it's and I don't bet, and I'm not allowed to bet, but like I look at him as someone who, what I hear from his coaches is the part that's the hardest for the running back to pick up, which, like, a lot of these guys, because they're such big stars in college, aren't asked to pass protect very much, and in a lot of cases don't catch the ball a ton. Like, that's the stuff. That was the question with Ashton Genty, and he's picked that up seamlessly. So I think Ashton Genty is going to have a massive year. They have a very unique young weapon in Brock Bowers, but they have holes in the roster.
What is Brady's role there? I mean, were you there the day when he showed up in the silver and black?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
I did.
Was it jarring for you, Chris?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
He played with a different team, so
That's true.
seeing him with
That's
with different colors is fine.
And by the way, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
I know.
Of course.
Got it.
So
you were there that day.
Yeah, I would say Brady's impact on that place is it's going to help keep Mark Davis at bay a little bit, and we've all heard the stories. Like, they have big money ownership there now, and I do think to some degree the stories you heard. Like, I remember hearing a story of Josh McDaniels getting screamed at after they won a game, right? Like, in the coach's office in a visiting stadium. I think they were playing Green Bay. So, like, that part of it, like, I think it at least kind of keeps that at bay a little bit. I think it's, obviously in his ability to attract other big money guys. Like, not a lot of people talk about this, but they brought in Egan Durbin and Mike Meldman and Tom Wagner as his business partner. And those are huge money guys, right? Mm-hmm. Which is part of why they go pay $6 million to get Chip Kelly out of Ohio State, right? Like, I think part of that was symbolic, was like, this is not the same Raiders organization. And I've got a ton of stories from the coaching search where it was like, we're not the same team anymore. So there's that impact. But if you're talking about on the field with Brady in particular, I think the impact is the type of player they're bringing in. I think the guys in that organization, Pete Carroll, the new general manager, John Spytek, are in lockstep with him anyway. But I think that there's a certain type of player that Tom wants in the building. And I think those guys know, like, we're going to have, when we go to talk to Tom about who we're acquiring, who we're drafting, who we're signing, who we're trading for, we want to be able to tell him, this is your type of guy. And that means a guy who loves football. I think the overarching term is football character. Mm-hmm. Tough, loves football, all about the team. Like, all of that stuff is now going to become paramount. And I think, even if he's not in there every day, and he's very sensitive about that, like the story I heard, he helped with their quarterback evaluation, right? Like, because obviously, who wouldn't want Tom Brady to be involved in that, right?
You would welcome his input, yes, sir.
Like,
yes.
Who wouldn't want him involved?
Right. Yes.
So he flew in, like, incognito for a day to sit down with the front office and the coaches to go through quarterbacks and look at quarterbacks on tape, and left, and no one knew about it. And my understanding is the reason why is because he knows if he shows up, he takes all the oxygen out of the room. So, like, he knows if he shows up, well, there's Tom, and he doesn't want the perception out there that because he's going to let those guys do their job. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He doesn't want the perception out there that he's lording over everything. but he certainly has an influence on the types of players they're bringing in.
How does Brady fly in incognito? I know Vegas, what happens there stays there.
Do you have his tail number?
I don't know. Heaven forbid he puts Buckeye colors on his plane. That can't be Brady.
My guess is he didn't take the 7 o'clock on Delta. I don't think.
Flying middle seat in the back. No, he would stick out there too. We kind of talked the last time you were here about all those teams in the NFC North, and plus things have. I mean, do you have anything on J.J. McCarthy since then, or? I imagine he's developed significantly in the week plus since, things have changed. Right?
There's ups and downs, and that's one of the things I hate about and look, it's great. It's awesome for all of us that training camp gets so much attention and coverage.
Are you talking about the throw he made before the throw he made to, was it Addison before he broke? It was a beautiful dot, and he gets that treatment. And Caleb Williams gets the, boy, you look terrible treatment. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate what goes viral these days.
Yeah, and I just think the biggest problem I have with all of that, though, Rich, is we don't know what the coaches are trying to accomplish. And sometimes those things go up before the coach has a chance to say, well, wait a minute, here's what I was trying to do here. And that's why it was so important for me. Caleb looked and I said it here, didn't look good at all the day I was there, and hasn't looked great through training camp. But, I had the context of Ben saying, he's feeding the kid through a fire hose, and he's trying to figure out what he can handle, and they're going to narrow it down as they go. And, I think worrying about what the public is going to think because these practices are open is ridiculous. You should be doing what you think is best for your team. And so with JJ, there have been some ups and downs in camp, but that's natural. And I think a big piece of it, and, he's a really impressive kid, by the way. Mm-hmm. When you talk to him, he had a rough year last year, and there's no question, on the field, off the field, all of it. I think he's very self-aware about it, and I think after going through what he went through last fall, he wanted to make every day count, starting in January when the season ended. And he's been present, and I think they view it as a blessing in disguise that Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold aren't back there now. Not that they wouldn't want them, but it's allowed them to give JJ all of the reps that he lost in the fall. And so it's a process getting there, because he did lose a lot of development time, and there is value in running the scout team and all of that. But they're trying to do what they can to accelerate him. And the one thing I know is there probably aren't 3 or 4 guys in all of football that I would trust with a quarterback more than Kevin O'Connell.
Were you the one who said that he met with J.J. McCarthy throughout the year last year?
Yeah, so they met once a week.
Once a week,
yeah.
While he's going through a 14-win season with Sam Darnold.
They put him on the road for once he was physically able, they put him on the road.
And interestingly enough, McCarthy Vikings v. Caleb Bears, first Monday night of the season.
And that's exciting.
Oh, my God.
What's that going to look like?
Dude.
Yeah.
I'm just every single time I start talking about these matchups in week 1, it just gets me all fired up. Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely.
Even think about
fired up.
So I was talking on our podcast earlier about Vegas and New England in week 1. And that one's interesting to me because it's Vrabel and Drake May and Josh McDaniels and all of that.
And Pete Carroll coming back.
But then even beyond that, I thought about that. And I thought, I thought about Chip coming back. And do you remember the first game Chip had in the NFL? That was
when
a Monday night.
When he went in the Hall of Fame because of the Eagles went crazy? The Eagles put up 55 points in 2 minutes?
And it was they had no idea. I'm sort of excited, what is Chip holding? What is Chip going to pull out on everybody that week 1? Now, maybe it doesn't sustain, we'll see, but I think he's going to have something exciting in week 1. So you have a lot of those sorts of things.
If I'm not mistaken, by Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen show, Chip has a New England connection, right? New Hampshire, wasn't that his?
Yeah. Yep.
This is.
Yep. Went to UNH from Manchester, New Hampshire.
But of course, the Jets and the Steelers being put on the same field together in week 1 with Rodgers being back in
the quarterback
MetLife.
Switch.
And the quarterback switch, right? That's awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Lions, Packers, Niners, Seahawks. Come on, man. Bengals, Browns, Bucks, and Falcons right off the bat right
Texans,
there.
Rams is really good, too. I think the Texans have a chance.
What do you mean by that?
I think CJ got unfairly beat up for last year to some degree.
He came through. I mean, he won a playoff game.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like everybody talks about him like he had a horrible year. They were in it against the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the divisional round, like into the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So, like, and I think their defense is going to be filthy. Like, I think their defense is going to be off the charts good. And to have pieces like Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and Derek Stingley, and then offensively, I think it's all there except for the line. And so, like, can they stabilize the offensive line? Mm-hmm. To me, like, that's one of the biggest swing factors any team has in the entire league. Because I think if they...
Isn't Mixon hurt, though? Like
Mixon's hurt. They have Chubb there. Damian Pierce, we'll see. Like,
He's still there.
They've got some guys there. Like, I think they'll be able to manage that. Mm-hmm. I think their new offensive coordinator, who was here last year, is a star in the making in Nick Caley. I think he's going to fix a lot of what was wrong with their offense last year. Again, I think so much of it comes down to that tackle situation, and specifically the situation at tackle. Can they fix the tackle situation? They signed a bunch of different guys. Trent Brown's there now, Cam Robinson. They draft the kid out of Minnesota in the second round. Can they find two valuable answers at tackle? If they can, I think they've got a chance to elevate too. And seeing them against the Rams in week 1 will be great.
Where are you watching Texas, Ohio State on Labor Day weekend? Are you going? You're going to be there?
I think we are looking at the idea of going. That might be
looking at the idea. Like
that might be my. That might be.
You're probable, questionable. Like, what is this? An injury report?
I would say I'm probable.
You're not going to be there for a banner raise?
I don't know for sure yet, but it might wind up being my kid's first game in that stadium.
Oh,
so
boy. Okay.
And so like, we're going to have, it's Lee Corso's last game.
Okay.
Right? Lee Corso's last game.
Okay, fine. But, I mean, this is it,
I heard you talking about Urban before, which...
I mean, he's going to play straight down the middle, as he always does.
Like Desmond Howard,
when he's at the... Mm-hmm. Yep, pretty much.
He still doesn't be... Yeah, I don't know. Do people notice, like... People notice he still doesn't say the word Michigan.
Oh, whatever. It's so childish.
I don't know if people notice that. Like he calls them the Wolverines.
But Urban.
That was his way around it.
I worked the draft with Urban. Okay, he had me on ice for the first day. Okay, and then we warmed up with each other. And as a matter of fact, he kindly called into the program Michigan Ohio State week once upon a time. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I understand.
It's going to be a wild atmosphere there. I mean, the Arch conversation to me is what? I see all this stuff about like this team's lining itself up and that team's lining itself up together. Does anyone think he's declaring?
I don't think so.
If the Saints have the number 1 pick, he gone.
Hold on a second. Let me just put it this way. Let's get into this here.
Yep.
Because I said the day that Jimmy Haslam was asked about it, I would have counseled Mr. Haslam to have answered the question, not by like, well, I know the Mannings, and I think he's going to stay in there. It's like, no, we've got a great quarterback room. We're happy with what we're going to do, and we're not going to have the first overall pick, which is what he's worthy of.
Right.
Like that would have been my answer if I were him. I am not, but they have to win a national championship for him to leave.
And
it has to be a season where it is so obvious that he's a man among boys and there's nothing else for him to learn there and also they will, by the time he declares, the Manning family will look at the draft
who
order
has the first pick
and make a decision.
Right.
And if you say it's the Saints,
there's no better perfect storyline than him being the Saints quarterback.
But he has to have a season where it is without question done. Like he doesn't need another year with Sarkisian in college football.
There are a couple of things here. I mean, obviously Peyton and Eli exhausted their college eligibility. That's the obvious thing, that the Manning family has never run from college football.
But I guess that's a different era as well, right? There's no question about it. By the way, we're at the end of the hour for our radio audience. Yep. Before you finish your answer, I want to say thank you in front of the radio audience for being here.
Yeah.
And for those who want to hear Albert's final thoughts on all this, that'll be on our YouTube stream later on, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Now, Albert, I don't want to cut you off, but go ahead, finish up.
I think the other thing that people don't look at is the history of quarterbacks with 1 year starting. It's not good. Right, like, and
Trubisky, that sort of stuff. You mean?
Yeah, I mean Trey Lance, like it's
Joe Burrow.
It's 2 years. So the threshold.
And don't forget his massively successful tenure at Ohio State, sitting in the quarterback room.
But he was a one-year wonder.
But he started for 2 years. So if he comes out after that first year, how does it look? The point is, the threshold I've heard is 25 starts. Right, like
not a bad threshold at all.
20, if you should have 25.
Plus, look at Bo Nix, look at Brock Purdy, look at that.
Jaden Daniels.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the number of college starts has become a really important metric for a lot of people to look at, because the idea is you need to have seen a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to have that library built up in your head, and you need to have given it the chance where you put tape out and then teams have a chance to game plan against you. And so now you're seeing different looks, and teams are actually specifically attacking you certain ways. So now you're showing that you can come back and attack them with whatever they're throwing at you. There's all of that I think the Manning family is acutely aware of, that what gives the kid the best chance to succeed in the pros is playing enough games in college so he's ready. And so I think there's that piece of it that a lot of people don't pay attention to, that I think is a really, really important piece. And so even if he has a great year, even if he wins a national championship, I think that's part of the equation. And in addition to what you were talking about, which is what team has the first pick. And then, I mean, like, look, we still need to see it, right? That's the other part, is like, I think, and I've talked to a bunch of scouts about him who say he's physically impressive, great kid. Obviously, Cooper did a great job raising him. Him and Quinn Ewers' relationship is a good example of how they're both really good guys. Mm-hmm. But I think what a lot of people are doing is they are saying, okay, this is Peyton and Eli with wheels. That's like the way a lot of people are thinking, right? And look,
sure.
Do you know how big an assumption that is, that we've seen 2 starts against a directional school and the worst team in the SEC? Not saying Arch isn't going to make it. I think he will. But is that proof that he's going to be Peyton Manning up here? Is that proof that he's going to be Eli Manning?
If he wins the Heisman Trophy,
oh my God.
What else is
we
there to
don't
do?
know that yet. We don't know that yet.
And I get it, and we're at the end of the hour here. I will just finish up with this. Everybody ascribes the Manning family, they're playing 5-dimensional chess. I just think they are excited that their son is in this position, and they are just going to go game to game, and soak in the process. And it is just that simple. And then at the end of the day, they'll make a choice.
2 years and 2 years. I think he's 2 years start.
1-year wonder.
Albert Breer, everybody, here on the program. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.